Can we talk about entrepreneurship?
Yeah,
Um, I talked to your office a little bit about, there's some grants that's available for
yeah,
people. People can apply for grants, and the one thing I like about grants is you really have to do the work
sure.
to get that to actually get that money and qualify for it. But like once you're there, you're there.
Yeah, so I mean, well, let's take a step back. So entrepreneurship, as a kid, like I lived on the east side as a kid,
Okay,
and
Eastside.
like no doubt, and but I
What
didn't
street?
Lafayette and McDougal.
Okay, I'm from
Yeah,
East
I
Warren.
got you. Okay, I
Okay.
got you. I got you. But like, I didn't know any entrepreneurs as a child. I didn't know like how businesses formed. I thought
Mhm.
businesses just happened. I didn't realize that like my barber was an entrepreneur. That
Mhm.
store was started by an entrepreneur, by a person or a family or something like that. I didn't know that. I didn't
Okay.
learn about entrepreneurship really until I got much older. And my conception of entrepreneurship was like, tech bros. As an engineer or whatever, right?
Okay.
So one, I think it's important that we just like expose more people, particularly younger people,
Mhm.
to the concept of entrepreneurship, how to think about that, how to consider that perhaps being part of your life's journey. And so, not having that, I really want everyone to be exposed to it at
Yeah.
least on some level. I also want entrepreneurs to feel like they have a chance to be successful in
Absolutely.
Michigan. And I'm a two-time recovering entrepreneur myself.
Recovering is hilarious. We could talk
I'm
about
in
that.
recovery. I'm in recovery twice over, but I want anybody with an idea
Mhm.
to feel like that idea can be possible in Michigan. And for far too long, like there were a lot of people who didn't feel like that. They felt like they
Absolutely.
had to go elsewhere to reach their next level of success. Well, by creating programs and providing funding and resources
Mhm.
that can help entrepreneurs be successful, especially black folks, we're the most entrepreneurial people in the country. We start more businesses per capita as a community than any other racial or ethnic group.
Yeah.
And so we have been able to work in alignment with the Biden-Harris administration to drive more resources towards entrepreneurs of color broadly and black entrepreneurs in particular than we've seen in a generation. Like
Mm.
the number of new businesses that have been started by black folks in Michigan is higher than it's been in 30 years. And that's in part because of the programming we've done.
Mhm.
Things like the Michigan Economic Opportunity Fund. So this is a $10 million fund that I launched last March.
Okay.
And this is using state small business credit initiative dollars from the Biden Harris administration, working in partnership with Michigan Women's Forward, Huntington Bank, the Ballmer Group here, that says that if you are a business that is run by a woman, an entrepreneur of color, a veteran, a person who's differently abled, and you have not been able to get access to a bank loan because all four of those categories of people have a harder time getting bank loans for their businesses,
Mm.
that the Michigan Economic Opportunity Fund will be your partner to help you take that next step up to a $50,000 financial assistance for you to either open up a new storefront, renovate your place, build your first prototype, like do the next step in your business. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that. And there's $9 million left in that fund that we're going to be able to spend. You can do that. You about to ask me, MWF.org is where you can go to sign up for that Michigan Economic Opportunity Fund. But it's an example of how we support entrepreneurs and making sure that, again, you don't have to go elsewhere to look for resources,
Yeah.
elsewhere to look for funding, elsewhere to look to take that next step. And I come from the technology space.
Yeah.
And so, for those in the kind of high growth, venture capital type of world, we're going to finish something in our state budget called the Michigan Innovation Fund, an evergreen fund where the state of Michigan will be a co-investor alongside other funds to draw more Michigan investors to invest in Michigan companies that can grow. Because I don't want the next tech unicorn to feel like they got to go to the coast to raise their next
Right.
round of money. We've had unicorn $1 billion value companies in Michigan. I want them to stay here. I want
Right.
the next ones to grow here. And so these are things that I've been leading in particular to focus on that kind of entrepreneurship being part of our economic development and economic growth and economic mobility strategy in Michigan.
No, that absolutely makes sense. 'Cause there's a mindset that in order to achieve success, that you have to leave the city or you have to leave the state. And let me tell you guys, you don't.
I mean, I understand that. Look, I lived that. I mean, when I graduated from Michigan, I left Michigan for 9 years.
Okay.
I went to the West Coast for 4 years. I went to the East Coast for 5 years after that, and then came home 10 years ago.
Mhm.
I wanted to be a software engineer, software developer, and in 2005 when I graduated, I felt like the place that I needed to go to be the professional I wanted to be was the West Coast.
Okay.
That is like not true today for sure,
Mhm.
but there's still work to do to make it even less true for my 10-year-olds
Mhm.
as we go forward. And so making these kinds of investments to change Michigan's relationship with these sort of high growth, high tech companies that are creating high wage jobs, that's what I want to be part of my legacy.
That's dope. I have two tech questions for you
I
now.
got you.
The first tech question is, are you familiar with Black Tech Saturdays, and have you been a part of that yet?
Yes and yes. So
Awesome.
Alexa and Johnny Turnage, who formed Black Tech Saturdays over at New Lab, formed it organically. Now it is the premier gathering of Black technology entrepreneurs and go getters in the nation. And the thing I love about them, that they're unselfish. They're
Yeah.
about community. They recognize what I know is true about this economy, and it's that everybody can eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all can make money. We all can be on that pathway to health and wealth, and have access to that dream. And so I appreciate them a great deal.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm going to be working with them in the next upcoming weeks. So I'm
Good.
really excited
They're
about that.
great. They're
I'm
great.
really excited about it. So I used to have a radio station, internet-based radio station.
Hmm.
It actually turns 10 years old in October of this year.
Congratulations.
And thank you. We're going to be relaunching soon. So I'm trying to see if this makes sense. Like, let's do like some type of partnership and rebuild
Yeah.
together and things like
Yeah.
that. Because something I didn't really look at it as, I looked at it as the media talent and entertainer. I never really looked at it as, oh, this is technology based, but this is 100% technology
Yeah.
based. I had to build an app. I had to
Yeah.
figure out how to stream. I had to figure out how to create an RSS feed. I had to
Yeah.
figure out a lot of different moving pieces that were all technology
Of
based.
course.
So it all made sense.
Of course.
So I'm really excited about that. But I wanted to ask you about that just in case you didn't know, but you know it all about them.
No, look, I do, and they're fantastic, and I mean, just even the experience you just described with your own and your radio, your internet radio station. Like, even if people don't sort of conceive of their businesses as technology businesses, they are technology enabled and technology accelerated,
Yes.
and they can be better, more efficient, more profitable, more scalable with technology. So it is in all of our interests to increase the level of technical literacy that our people have, so we can do more.
Absolutely more scalable with technology. When we talked earlier about the soap company,
Yeah.
and I told you that, I had to figure out how to go from making one to more bars
Yeah.
in one or loaves at once because that was an issue.
Right.
It was a technical thing that I had to do. I had to get a bigger cooker.
Yeah.
And I had to, figure out things on, measuring differently and create new recipes and things like that. So I think at the foundation of a lot of things, technology lives there.
I mean, look, the thing that made Detroit more than 100 years ago was using technology to enable human creativity and productivity. The invention of the assembly line to scale up production, and the scaling up of that process is what took our city to the stratosphere. We have a history of that kind of creation and invention and innovation in Michigan, whether that's at that huge factory scale or at the maker scale that you're describing. Like, we have that, like, built inside of us. And I just want folks to recognize that they can deploy those ideas here. That, again, this is a place where you can make something that can change the world, and to know that and have the confidence that your state will be a partner in helping you reach that goal and reach that vision, because it's good for all of us. Like, that's my responsibility.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think my next technology question for you is, what are we doing because in reality, we know the future is technology. It's the present is technology, if we're being honest. And we know that a lot of times when it comes to lower income or even, lower middle class families, they don't have the access to technology. This is including children at schools and whatnot. And we need these babies trained on
Yeah.
how to properly, so they can be competitive in the future.
Yeah.
What are we doing to close that educational gap when it comes to access to technology?
So I care really, really deeply about this. My first job when I was 14 was building computers. And the first 5 that I built, I installed at the Bustle Rec Center on the west side, and taught a computer class teaching people how to use those computers and teaching them.
amazing.
Like, I remember showing this little girl the internet for the first time. She was 8. Her name was April. And, like, it's 98. Date myself. It was 1998. And typing in Detroit into the Alta Vista search engine, and her seeing the Old English D, and then seeing a picture of a tiger, and her asking if the tiger was at the zoo. And I was like, no, that tiger's not at the zoo. That tiger's in India. And she was just like, oh my gosh, wow. I think that everybody deserves access to that kind of experience.
They do.
And so making sure that everyone in Michigan can have access to high speed, high quality, affordable internet access is like one of my top priorities, and have been focused on that. And we have a pathway now for Michigan to be the first large state to connect all of our people in every community to that kind of internet access. So I'm really excited to show that kind of leadership as a state and a model for the nation on that. But people need really 3 things. You need access in terms of having technology built towards you and for you, so whether that's internet access being built to your house, whether that is devices that are made for you and whatever situation your context is. We also need to deal with our affordability challenges, making sure people can afford those devices or afford the internet service that's available to them. And the third piece is what you mentioned on training. What I think about is digital literacy, that once you have the technology and have the internet, that then you have the confidence and capacity to be able to utilize it to help you reach your full potential, whatever that may be when it's come to just having fun, being creative, making money, finding a job, accessing healthcare services or information, like whatever the case may be, educational, etc. And so we've made historic investments at the state of Michigan in all three of those areas to really become a leader in the nation in that regard. We saw during the pandemic, we saw a lot of public-private partnerships that led to putting more devices in people's hands and led to more people understanding how to take care of devices. As I see my kids breaking stuff all the time, so like,
please don't get me started.
So you know, but it takes experience to understand how to manage that. And so I think we're making progress, and yet there are still too many communities, too many places where people don't have it.
To a parent, you said something that really stuck out to me. You have been allowed to walk into your path for a very long time. To a parent that may not understand their child's fascination or maybe even obsession with technology, maybe a child that has the understanding to rebuild computers like you and whatnot. What would you tell that parent that's like, put the computer down, leave the computer alone?
You know what, that was something that I experienced as a kid and didn't have a full appreciation of until I became a parent. Okay. So my grandma bought me my first computer, so I was 5. And my grandma, who was a social studies teacher at Munger Middle School on the west side of Detroit, she woke up one day and decided her baby needed to have a computer. I don't know what led to that decision. Right? Yeah, right.
Grandmas are amazing.
So grandma decides her baby needs to have a computer, so they give me this computer. Okay, and the decision that my parents made that was profound was they let it be mine. Like they didn't take control of it so they could be more productive at home or whatever. Like they let it be mine. And so I could do whatever I wanted to. I'm changing the colors and blah, blah, blah. And I remember when we moved out to the suburbs later in my childhood, and there was a kid down the street who's he was scared to do stuff on the computer in their house. I never felt that. But what that gave me is I talked about comfort and confidence with technology. So I got that because they didn't block me from it.
Right.
And so what I would encourage parents to think about, and even what I try to think about, and it's hard, you get annoyed, you want your kid to put the phone down or whatever, I get that, is try to make it so that your kid's experience is about exploration, not consumption. Try to enable them to think about how they are manipulating the technology rather than just again, taking something from it. What are they giving to it? What are they doing to it? That kind of agency. A lot of the fear about technology is because you're scared about what it's going to do to you, what it's going to do to us, what it's going to do to the world. But having some agency and recognizing that no, technology does what it's told, and we get to tell it what to do.
Exactly.
I think that can help to manage that anxiety a great deal, and parents can help instill that in kids.
But I do agree. One thing that I tell my kids is try to be creators when it comes to technology, opposed to always being consumers. Don't just scroll social media just to look at funny stuff. Find the STEM side of TikTok is amazing.
Of course.
I love it.
There's an analytical piece to it.
I love it.
But I mean, even outside of STEM in a traditional sense, I don't think you can be good at this stuff if you can't write.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So understanding and writing, forces clarity of thought, and what could be a more transferable skill than thinking clearly and being able to communicate it. These things are important, and you can put the building blocks in place to practice and to internalize these kind of skills and practices for real.